Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Chair. I
all.
appreciate it. The Biden border crisis. Well, first of all, let me start with this. I have absolutely no sympathy whatsoever for the Sacklers or Purdue, and they should be held accountable and face justice. And if this is about protecting Americans,
Right.
it seems to be. Apparently, we had a committee hearing before we were sworn in, and rightfully so. Now we're having a second. So I would call on the chair to have a hearing forthwith on the Biden border crisis. Now, why? If you look at illegal border crossings over the last 5 years, well, I guess 4.5 years, in FY17, it was 527,000. Then it was 683,000. Then there was a jump at 1.14 million. Then it went right back down to 646,000, which is still alarmingly high. But this calendar year, it's the four months of this year, it's 871,000, which is a rate of 2.6 million, which is 234% higher than the worst month under the Trump administration. And it's 495% higher than his lowest month. And if you compare year over year, April of 20 to April of 21, there was a 1,000% increase in illegal crossings. Now, what does that have to do with the opioid crisis in America? Some of the witnesses, one of the witnesses touched on it. Some of our colleagues have touched on it. When Border Patrol is distracted because of all these illegal border crossings, particularly with unaccompanied minors, that gives the drug cartels the opportunity, because about half of our Border Patrol is to focus on the illegal migrants. And then the drug cartels, some of the most evil people on the planet, get to sneak their product in and smuggle it in much easier. And when we visited the border approximately 6 weeks ago, the DEA gave us an extensive and comprehensive briefing on the illicit drug trade. And the seizures have exploded with cocaine and methamphetamine, but actually has gone down for one drug, heroin. You have to ask yourself why. Well, it's because fentanyl has exploded, and fentanyl is replacing heroin. Fentanyl is far more dangerous too. It's cheaper, it's easier to transport, and it's far more powerful. 50% times more powerful than heroin and 100 times more powerful than morphine. As I said, it's more potent, there's higher profit margins, and it's easier to transport. If you look at the deaths in the United States due to synthetic opioids, it's a little over 45,000 deaths. So I would beg, beseech, plead, and on my knees request that the chair hold a hearing on the crisis at the border, because an open border is an immoral border, and people are dying south and north of a border when we won't secure it. We have de facto allowed the Mexican drug cartels to control our southern frontier, and it's entirely unacceptable. And I'm glad some attorney generals are on this in this hybrid hearing, because Mr. Biden has made every state a border state. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Fallon. The chair will now recognize the gentleman for